This is episode 177 of the Super League pod. Expect the usual coverage of beach volleyball, rhythmic gymnastics, streakers, and, oh yeah, all the news, fan views and results from an historic weekend in rugby league. Strap yourselves in, kids, it's SLP time. Right, everyone, welcome along to episode 177 of the Super League pod. I'm Mark, your resident Wigan fan host, and this week I'm joined by co-host Tim Griffiths of Hull Kingston Rovers supporting and Coventry Bears announcing fame. How's it going, Tim?
Yeah, not too bad. Yeah, I had a nice relaxing weekend. It was good. How about yourself?
I have had some family business going on. My mother-in-law's not been too well, so... hopefully she's on the mend now, though, which is good. And that's kind of been the dominant theme of my last week or so. So I don't have much interesting stuff. So we only just literally watched last week's Walking Dead just now before we... whilst we're having our tea tonight, so we're like a week behind in life, basically.
That's something I've never got into. I've always sort of flirted with watching it, but it's one of those shows similar to Game of Thrones. I think if I started watching it, I wouldn't be out of it. I'd just be sat there in front of the TV watching it nothing but for 6 months.
Yeah, and yeah, it's one of those shows that you kind of feel like you belong to after a while, but if there was a way out. Kind of like the people in the show, you kind of feel they want a way out of the life that they've found themselves in. Sometimes, as a viewer, you want a way out, but you can't get it. You're too committed. You're in too deep. Yeah. So I'm guessing you were not at the Coventry Bulls game on Sunday. So have you got any anecdotes from any previous week's games of the? Down at the Big Butt?
No, the Big Butt, all well down at the Big Butt. So we had Newcastle on Good Friday, since I spoke to you last. So that was obviously because we spoke just after the Challenge Cup game and we scraped through that one. So that was and obviously the draw was very kind to us in that regard. Then we had Good Friday, which was a very good game where played Newcastle in ridiculous levels of mud. You had a team wearing grey covered in mud, so brown, and a team wearing black covered in mud, so brown. So trying to work out who'd scored, there were a couple where it was try to Newcastle, congratulations.
Yeah.
But there's good performance once again from the fullback T. Ritson. I've seen him a couple of times when he was at, was it Whitehaven or Workington last year?
Yes. Yeah, he was in... Is his first name like Therapol? Fripol. Yeah.
But he goes by T. I checked the first time that I had him at the game, so I went and checked, and he said, no, it's T's fine. Because that's the thing, you get some names and you do have to go and check. Because the interesting thing, when we actually had Whitehaven last week, we had Jesse Joe Parker, but for some reason he'd been put down on the team sheet as something else, Jesse Joe, and there was another name I couldn't pronounce. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm not quite sure what's going on. So I read it out on the team sheet, right, and everyone looked around at me odd. And then when I heard the commentator next to me say Jesse Joe Parker, I was like, oh, okay, I'll just keep going with that then. So he don't quite know what's like that. But yeah, that was quite a nice day on the Friday. Newcastle saw Big Kev, the very loud, very vocal Newcastle fan who I've seen many times at Oxford and all sorts of places in between. So it was nice to catch up with him again. And then we had Whitehaven on Sunday week just gone, which was disappointing in terms of the score, but the performance was...
Good crowd for that one.
And yeah, decent crowd on that one. So that was good. And then yesterday I watched from the comfort of my living room, thanks to the Proper Sports stream. And
we'll get through all those games. There's quite a lot of news, but nothing that we're going to go too deep on.
It's a good job I wasn't on last week with Streamgate, because I was ranting about that one for quite a while.
I am a little bit surprised we didn't get any feedback on Streamgate from any of the listeners, to be honest. Although probably we covered it in a relatively balanced way. I kind of went through the whole wave of being annoyed at Workington before I read the Bradford statement, and being annoyed with Bradford after I read the Bradford statement, and
then being annoyed at Workington again when you read their counter statement, and you think, well, there were some bits in there that sort of jumped out as why this is all Bradford hadn't made any effort to promote the fixture. And you think, well, should the onus be on the away side to be doing the bulk of the promotion?
Exactly, yeah. I'm going to have more to say later on in the show when we get to the match reviews of the Super League games about the away attendance mentality of how things get viewed, but we'll talk about that later on.
It saddened me in a way because it's so against everything we should be doing at the moment. We should be encouraging, the obscure fandom from all around the world. We should be getting people in.
Exactly.
And
who's gonna? I mean, if just think if one bloke from, Switzerland, or California, or wherever, our listeners come from all over the world,
example
listening to us, bought a shirt because they thought it was great watching. The game or something, and were thrilled.
Or they remember Jordan Tanzi, and they were a big Jordan Tanzi fan, for example. But the thing I thought, well, for example, London Scholars didn't have a game that day, so one of their fans could well have been watching the game on the stream. Thought, there's something to do. They tune in. They go, oh, Workington looks like a nice place. Oh, we're playing them in 4 weeks' time. I'll book a holiday there. I'll go up.
Yeah.
So there's all sorts of that, and there's
a risk that they think Workington looks a grim place when it's raining.
It was on Country File last night as well, that sort of area. So it was.
It's perfectly nice in the sunshine. It's just it doesn't see enough of it. I would suggest
the 4 hours. So it's like Iceland is to sun what Workington is to clear conditions.
Exactly. We're gonna. Roll through those news stories and talk about the match reviews. And also, Tim, I hope you're prepared because we're going to talk a little bit on the opening round of the Women's Super League, which I'm assuming if you watched the Bulls Coventry game, you might have caught some of the Bulls ladies versus the Leeds ladies.
I ended up watching pretty much the whole thing. I was supposed to go out. I had things to do, and I was I probably watched, if anything, I was sat down for more of that one than I was during the Coventry game because I was trying to do some bits around the house, cleaning, washing, tidying. And I ended up getting distracted by just getting gripped into the game, and I was quite happily watching that away. We'll talk about it more later. But
I watched two of the women's games, the actual first game and the game that the Bulls Live tried to make out was the first game of the Women's Super League season.
Fair play to them. It was a nice presentation for something that you probably didn't expect to see, if I'm honest, and being able to watch the whole game was brilliant.
No, I hadn't seen any confirmation that they had the rights access to it, because I think there's sort of a question mark over the permanency of the rights on that. So it's going to be an interesting one to watch develop. But I believe they have another game next week. The Bulls, I think, are at home again next week. So we'll see. Right, so we'll do what feedback and shout-outs we've had from last week's show. I want to start with a shout-out to one of the younger members of the SLP family, and that is Anna McKenzie, because, a big brother Joshua and her mum Sarah get all the plaudits from the Super League pod audience, but it was Anna's 6th birthday this week, so I wanted to give a shout out to Anna, and also to her dad Peter, who's had a bit of a rough weekend, so we're sending all our best to him.
Yep, happy birthday, Anna. Hope you had a nice princess type thing, if that was what you wanted, or whatever it was you were after.
Whatever it was, you got what you wanted.
Yeah, and best wishes to Peter as well, of course.
Exactly, yeah. So most of the feedback we got from last week, like I say, I was a little surprised we didn't get more on Streamgate, but we got a lot on what was probably the best thing about last week's show. So if you haven't listened to last week's show, go, and because your team lost or you just didn't have time or anything, go back and listen to the first 10 minutes and the last 10 minutes, around about that, because you get to hear the co-host from last week, Lee Whitnell, talk about his story of how he's got into the sport over the last 4 or 5 years or so. So loads of people got in touch. I've picked out a few of them. So Fatboy Rob said, great to hear Lee's story of how the World Cup got him into the sport. I really think RL is missing a trick by not putting more emphasis on internationals in general. A joint-up approach is sorely needed.
Definitely agree with that. Yeah, Mitchell Dart said, great ep lads, like Lee Whitnell's Rugby League origin story, thumbs up emoji.
Yeah, another one from down under, Paul Michael Craig, who's been off seeing a lot of the Commonwealth Games down on the Gold Coast, so he's been enjoying that over the last 10 days or so. He said to Lee, loved hearing how you got into RL, shows what international RL could do for the game. Yeah, we got some more feedback from the other side of another bit of water in Ireland, from Alfie Garnett, Alfie Wolf, and he said, great job fella, I'm enjoying this cool merry-go-round of guest listeners / podders, clapping emoji, clapping emoji, clapping emoji. He knows how to use an emoji, doesn't he? Yeah. Emma was like, what is that? I had to explain to her. See, I tend to use it in sort of sarcastic terms quite a lot, sarcastic clap. The thing with Darren is, he confuses me. When I think he's being sarcastic, he's being genuine. When I think he's being genuine, he's being sarcastic. He remains a mystery to me to this day. And we actually got a game review from him this week. It's good because we've not heard as much as we would like to from Alfie this year so far. Alan Witts, finally, he said, great episode, gentlemen. Nice to hear Leeds' enthusiasm and knowledge of rugby league, who, like myself, is relatively new to the game. So yeah, I mean, anyone who's new to rugby league or relatively new to rugby league, when you're getting your friends involved in the sport, get them into the SLP life as well, because there's loads of people around like Lee and like Alan who've got interesting recent journeys into the sport, and then there's people like you who found the sport at different times, moving around, and then found a way to be still involved in the sport, and it's great. So and that's the nice thing about having the guest co-host is for me, I'm listener one week and getting involved the next, and I do enjoy hearing everybody else's stories as much as telling my own. Yeah, I mean, I might call on you to do a show without me at some point, because people must be getting bored of my stories. Unless the Mark rant. I've not got one bubbling at the moment, but we might find one as we go along. You can't have the house without Mum, and no one will know. All the washing wouldn't get done. The cooking, it would always be like when Dad's in charge and things are a little bit ropey, and it just sort of casts through. Obviously, not any aspersions on my dad. Every time you're in charge, it's fine. Honestly, you're a very good cook, Dad. My dad was a tight ship too, but in the SLP land with this weird scenario where I've somehow become Mum, well, I just don't know how to move forward with that one, really. So we will instead move on to the news from around the world of rugby league. Right, so news now from around the world of rugby league, sponsored by littlewarden.com. If you have a website, then visit littlewarden.com and see what they can do to help you. They can help you with domain expiration checks, redirects, and all sorts of other important background web stuff that they'll make simple for you. Little Warden, monitoring the tedious. And we're going to start the news section with a piece of news that I'm sure the people at Little Warden were really excited to hear, which was that Leeds Rhinos captain Callum Watkins has signed a new 2-year deal, keeping him with the Super League champions until the end of the 2021 season. The 27-year-old, who has 25 caps for England, was named captain this year following Danny Maguire's exit at the end of the 2017 season. I think, he's been absolutely outstanding from the start of the World Cup to now, other than the odd goal kicking. He's definitely in the last calendar year. He's definitely gone up a notch, hasn't he? He's moved up a class in terms of where you'd put him in the overall ranking, because he'd kind of almost starting to slip off the radar a little bit, sort of beginning of last season. But he's really just come in as you say, into the World Cup, and now into the beginning of this season, he's really just stepped up a level. And I actually think that Danny Maguire leaving and that extra leadership space has helped grow his game, if anything. Definitely. I mean, he plateaued, didn't he, at, say, 22, 23 years old-ish. As just being a really great attacking weapon who could do some great stuff, but kind of drifted in and out of games.
Yeah, he'd do
the
2
best
to 3
defensive reads whatsoever. But
2 to 3 plays where you'd think, wow, and then the rest of it is like, oh, he was playing. I forgot that.
But now I think this season, I think it maybe the fact that he's goal kicking helps, because you see him more often doing things like that. But I just think his defence is the thing that's impressed me the most. You can't just run a decoy runner at him and